The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the guards cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear it from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome back to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow host, Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson. How's it going, fellas?
Good. I know you're only 200 miles that way, but it's hot. The heat is here.
Ah, man. Talk about it, man. How you been able to stay out of the heat?
Dude, yesterday, 104 degrees here.
That's crazy. So I guess all your activities this past weekend were indoors?
Nah, man, I live it up. I went to the pool. You know, tomorrow I'm going to the Royals game. They got a day game tomorrow, so I'll be out in it. I don't care.
You don't have to work tomorrow?
I'm taking off early. I got to go to the DMV tomorrow to get my license back.
Nice. Congratulations. But I could have sworn you started driving already.
Well, I had my temporary license where I was only allowed to go to certain places. I get my full license back tomorrow.
That's what's up. Where you going now? Where can you go now that you got the full thing back?
I can go anywhere in a 50-mile radius and not cross the state line. So I don't have certain places and certain days that I can go. You know, I can just go wherever. If I need to go to the store, I can go to the store. I can go to the gas station. I can go Royals game. I can do whatever.
Congrats. Hats off.
I'm back.
Early. Getting that freedom back. That's what's up. So you said a 50-mile radius. So what is that? What's the furthest? Like Independence?
I can go a little bit east of Independence. I can go there ain't really anything south because it turns into Kansas, so I can't go there. But I can go up north pretty good. You know, pretty much anywhere in Kansas City.
That's what's up. Which includes the Royal game. So see, we tie it all in.
With what?
I said we tie it all in. I said that includes the Royals game.
Yep.
I said tying it all in. That's what we do here. You do anything fun, Steve?
Nothing too much. Like he said, it's pretty hot. Been outside a few times. Today is mostly hot, but it wants to bring the rain. The sun goes down, but I'm pretty sure that'll cool things off for the night. So other than that, nothing too much.
So I'm supposed to be going on a float trip this weekend, but it's supposed to rain on Saturday out there in Waynesville. So who knows what's gonna happen with that? Hopefully the rain, you never know what the weather forecast. So hopefully the rain stays away a little bit. Well, just get drunk, I guess, if it does rain, and have fun regardless. So I'll let y'all know how that goes once we convene next week. But before we get into MMA news, we posted something on TikTok and on Instagram that seemed to gain a little traction about Paulo Costa being washed. And for some reason they were going to Admire. Who knew that MMA fans would be up in arms and be kind of dickheads? But I don't know. Do you have anything to follow up with that, Admire?
I do. So yeah, a lot of the comments were not happy with me. I'm a casual, according to them. Whatever, a lot of guys, oh, well, he's a pro fighter. Who are you? And talking about that. So I want to back up my statement that Paulo Costa is not a good fighter. That's what I'm doing here. I'm going to double down, and hopefully we can post another clip and the same people will respond, because I'll ask you guys the question once I kind of read off my little spiel here. But Paulo Costa is ranked what? Number 8 in the middleweight division? Is that right?
Sure.
Okay. He's ranked number 8. He's been in the top 10 for a long time. But I want to point out that his last 2 wins were against Luke Rockhold in 2022 and against Yoel Romero in 2019. 5 years ago, he beat Yoel Romero. Before that, his wins were Uriah Hall, Johnny Hendricks, Bangbos, and McClellan. Paulo Costa not only has not fought a fighter in the top 15 middleweight, he has not fought anybody or he's not won against anybody currently in the middleweight division in all the UFC. Everybody that he has beat in the UFC is retired, gone. So how is he ranked number 8 when his last relevant win was 5 years ago? In that time, he's lost 4 fights to Adesanya, Vettori, Whitaker, Strickland. Does it make any sense that he's ranked number 8 with no credible wins in the last 5 years?
Steve, I'll let you kick this one off.
I would have to applaud to that comeback. That's a pretty good justification to what they were saying online to our fans. Very, very good, very played. I think they're mixing up the potential of what we see Paulo Costa and his potential he has with looking at his actual what do you sort of say it his credentials on paper, and his athletic ability has not been backed up. And then, like Admire said, his on the way up wins were come up wins, and then when he reached championship or contendership, he didn't rise to the occasion and had a terrible performance and hasn't been on the tear as we know Paulo Costa. Do I think he has potential? Definitely. But me as a MMA fan, I can't stand seeing people not going out there trying to finish a fight or try to even it out. And I even thought I heard his corner would even say to him, you're still in the fight, because Paulo Costa is the type of person, if you tell him that he's far away, then he's not a motivated fighter. And it seems like he fights that way. I mean, Strickland is a fighter, but it seemed he was gun shy that fight. That was a good justification. I would have to agree with Admire with that. I'm disappointed in Paulo Costa in his last fight.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at his wins, I think the only person that he has a win over that's notable, Yoel Romero still fights, but he fights for, a different company now. Yoel Romero, we know he's a different beast. I'm not taking that win away from Costa at all, but we know Yoel Romero has good days and he has bad days. But everybody else, Luke Rockhold, Uriah Hall, Johnny Hendricks, all retired. We're all, on losing streaks for, their recent fights. He hasn't beat anybody other than Yoel Romero, and he's lost 4 of his last 5. Like I've said, his only win in the last 5 years, Luke Rockhold.
So I'm gonna push back on this because all losses aren't created equally. He's got 4 losses and he's only won 1 of the past 5, but look who he's losing to, and look, it's the eye test why he's ranked in the top 8. That's saying that he could beat all of those guys that are ranked ahead of him, and as we saw, we have proof that he didn't beat a lot of those guys ranked ahead of him. But he lost to Sean Strickland in a split decision. He lost to Robert Whitaker he had his moments in that one. Marvin Vettori, former title contender. Like I said, Whitaker, former champion. Strickland, former champion. Israel Adesanya, he got walked on that one, but it's Israel Adesanya. A lot of people get embarrassed by Israel Adesanya. It's just the eye test. It's not like he's fighting these high level guys. It's not like he's getting beat badly. And I can see if he was ranked like number top 3, okay, but like, all right, he might be a little bit overranked, but I think he's perfectly ranked that he is where he is right now. Because if you put if you put Paulo Costa against say a Jack Hermanson at number 9, I'm still picking Paulo Costa. Brendan Allen number 7. I might pick Paulo Costa in that one too. So I'm not mad at that number 8 ranking.
I don't think there's any justification to have a guy ranked at number 8 when he hasn't beat anybody that's ranked or even in the company anymore. It's just, can you think of anybody else that's ranked in the top 10 that hasn't fought anybody else and beat them?
Colby Covington.
Is
Colby
this conversation about being number 8? My bad, Admire. Like, should he be number 8? Is this what we're talking about? Or did he have should he, is that what we're talking about?
I'm just saying, I don't even think the guy should be ranked. He does not have any wins over any current fighters.
I would disagree with that. Everything else I would agree, but I think he's still a top 10 contender. And I think he landed where he's at. I think he might even grade 6 or 5, but from his performances, he can't graze that top 5 of people that are going for that belt. And I think his paper, what he has, shows that. I think he still deserves to be in top 10. This last fight, now that might be debatable if he loses, but I think he deserves to where he should be. But other than that, Admire, you're totally correct. It's disappointing as far as his losses and stuff.
And then you still got to keep the same energy for people ranked ahead of him. Go to Brendan Allen's page. Who the hell is Brendan Allen beat? If you're gonna look at it like that, I think sometimes you just have to use the eye test and how he's competitive with a lot of those top 5 dudes. If you're talking about Marvin Vettori.
Well, we need to stop. We need to stop calling the Sean Strickland fight a split decision. We all know that one. We know that was not a split decision. That one judge is gone. But you're bringing up Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's beat people who are ranked in the UFC currently.
But still, like what win after that jumps off to the page, and we're looking at it in retrospect. Those people are out of it now, but when he was facing them, they were like top 3. What I think Yoel Romero was still a scary guy at the time.
I will agree with that. That's the only person that he's beat that was probably even ranked. I mean, Uriah Hall never been a real contender. Johnny Hendricks was on his way out. Luke Rockhold, who he hadn't done anything for years. So I'm, like I said earlier, I'm not taking the Yoel Romero thing away from him. He won, whatever. But as far as everything else,
I just think his inactivity makes it look a little bit worse than it is because he's just not fighting that often. But he still shows that he could hang in there. He's not just some bum off to the street. So top 10, I think is fine.
Does the UFC, isn't there a thing about, we'll take you out of the rankings if you haven't fought for a year? They used to do that. Do they not do that anymore?
They pick and choose when they want to do that. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Because injuries.
Well, between the Luke Rockhold and Robert Whitaker fight was, a year and a half, So, I mean, I don't get all the hype. I mean, I don't get why everybody is completely disagreeing with me that he's not as great as his ranking says. And, there was one guy that was really pissed off on there commenting, and, hopefully he sees this. I'll bet him $100 blindly on whoever Paulo Costa's next opponent is. I don't even know who it is, and I will take his opponent. $100.
You might be giving away money. What if he faces somebody that's unranked?
That's who he deserves to fight.
Nah, I disagree. I think if he gets a top 15 through 11 person, I'm gonna go with Costa.
I don't think they'll do that though. I mean, I think they're still going to put him against good guys up there because, I mean, he is great on social media. He's a good talker and all that, so he does get the eyes. So I don't think they're going to drop him down and have him fight, a lesser known person. Maybe they will, maybe just to get his confidence back. But I just, I think I'm just, maybe I did go a little hard and say he should be cut. I'm not, I'll take that back. I was wrong there. But I don't think that he deserves to be ranked in the top 10 at this time.
I think he should still be top 15. We're splitting hairs. Maybe not. If he dropped out of the top 10, I wouldn't be the end of the world. I wouldn't really, kicking and screaming over that. But I still think he's one of the best middleweights in the world. It's just you got the top guys that are just better than him. Like, I wouldn't pick him against anybody in the top 5 right now. And that Brendan Allen fight, if they were to fight, that'd be a toss-up, but I'd still probably lean Costa.
They need to put him in there against Michelle.
Fair. I keep forgetting which division he is because he was jumping back and forth. I guess he is middleweight now.
Yeah, he's middleweight now.
What about
Moralo, Hernandez, Chris Curtis? I think any one of those guys are going to beat Paulo Costa, based off his recent performances.
He just doesn't fight often enough, and I think that's hurting him as well. But he's got the tools. He just needs to apply them. But I'm sure no matter what point you make, people are going to just want to argue with you just to argue. So
yeah, I'm just going to be a casual to the masses.
Yeah, like I want to see their credentials, what kind of experience they have in the sport. They probably make up something. Well, I used to train with GSP back in the day. I used to carry his jock strap, so that gives me credentials to do it. So you're carrying around his underwear, whoop-de-doo. But yeah, feel free to chime in if we do post this online soon. Hopefully we'll have it up in the next week or so. So before we get to this pay-per-view, there are some news stories outside of the cage. I don't know if this came across y'all's feed. Our guy, Arman Tsarukyan, has been issued a 9-month suspension, terminating on January 12th, 2025. I know y'all recall this because I remember one of y'all mentioning this in that pre-fight incident involving that fan at UFC 300. Him and the fan got back into it. And I think his quote was, "You can say that to me far away. You can't say that to me in my face." And we didn't really know what was going to happen in regard to that because it kind of disappeared for a while. But they're also saying that the suspension can be reduced to 6 months if he produces a anti-bullying PSA. I've never really seen that caveat put on a fighter, but learn something new every day. He also received $25,000 fine, and prosecution fees of $471 will be taken from the $31,600 commission already withheld. So they withheld the last commission as well. And they also noted that it could have been catastrophic for everybody involved. This is a one-time offer. Repeat action will be dealt much more severely. So be warned. So what do y'all think? Too harsh or not harsh enough? 9-month suspension for our boy Arman Tsarukyan.
I remember watching it and seeing it happen. I mean, wasn't the fan getting at him? I mean, or am I wrong?
I'd have to rewatch it. It's been a while. I guess since April. But I think the fan was chirping back at him. I don't know if he threw something at him. So I
thought he grabbed him or something. But the dude's walking to the cage getting ready to fight. You as John Q. Public, don't try to touch the fighter. Don't do anything. Get real. I don't know if they're trying to make an example out of him, but I just think it's a really weird thing to do, to fine him that much, to make him say that to do a anti-bullying thing. I've actually heard of them doing the anti-bullying PSAs before, but I've never seen them like actually follow through with it, or I haven't ever seen one that's been produced. I don't know. Don't touch a fighter when he's walking out to fight. Like, don't try to start shit with him. Tsarukyan's not just going to pick a guy out of the crowd and try to go at him for no reason. That's my opinion.
Steve?
Yeah, definitely. I say if the fan I can't remember specifically how that happened, but if he grabbed him, then definitely his reaction, and I don't think the suspension is fair. I think I can't recall who else did it, but I definitely remember that's happened before where a fighter, kind of threw a punch or got physical back with a fan. So I guess maybe there's a lot of law involved as far as like suing, so they just want to make an example right now. But I say if this fan said something and then he hit the fan, I mean, I think he should be professional enough to, ignore that.
I got it pulled up now.
I'm looking at it. I don't know, man. It looked like he kind of just lunged at him. Yeah, I don't know, man. The angle I'm looking at, it doesn't look like the fan like really went at him first. I don't know what angle you're seeing, Admire.
It's showing it from the back. Okay, so he's walking and he holds out his hand. I don't know if the fan grabbed his hand.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Because he was the only hand, like, fans usually hold their hands out to slap fives and stuff.
I think it may have been
a fan.
The fan grabbed his hand.
I don't know. I guess it depends maybe what the fan said. Like I said, a lot of people are like slapping fives with the fighters on their way out. So it does look like it happens so fast. It's kind of hard to tell.
I mean, from the angle I see, I mean, it just, it looks like I don't know. To me, it looks like the fan grabbed the hand. I don't know if that's worthy of a punch or something, but the dude's walking out to fight Charles Oliveira.
But look, if you look at the guy with the red shirt right by us, the guy who he punched, it looked like he was reaching out to Tsarukyan as well. I don't know what angle you see it from.
I just went to another video that has a different angle.
So this is.
I got a video from behind the fan.
Yeah, so if you look at the guy with the red shirt right next to him, this is terrible for people who are just listening. But I got a video showing the video kind of from the angle for people that watching it on YouTube, and I don't know, it happens so fast, and I feel like I guess it all depends on if he said something to him, because I think it happened like a couple months ago, so I can't remember. Arman Tsarukyan, he commented on maybe there's something that was said too. I don't know. 9 months. I guess I feel like that's pretty fair.
I mean, he wasn't gonna fight in the next 6 months anyway.
Yeah, it's not like they banned him for like TJ.
It ain't like it's baseball or something and he has to miss the next 10 games.
Yeah. So that'll teach fans, you can't be reaching out to fighters, but that also teach fighters that you can't go ahead and act as your own justice system and throw punches at fans. So hopefully he bounces back and gets a decently price money fight his next fight, coming back from that suspension. Like you said, some fighters are out longer than that when they're not suspended. So yeah, shout out to Arman Tsarukyan. Before we get into the card, I guess this is be more reserved for a boxing show, but it ties into combat sports in general. Admire's guy Ryan Garcia got banned 1 year from boxing.
Shit, ain't my
He's on
guy.
he's on that shit. He was taking steroids and he got busted, even though he swore he wasn't. What was the drug? I got it up in front. I got the store in front of me, but it's not saying which drug he popped for. I think
I
it was
think it,
Ostarine.
yeah, I think it was too. And I mean, it was crazy that, you know, the Tank Davis fight just happened, and then Ryan Garcia got up there, talked to Tank, and was begging for a rematch. And then I think it was like within 2 days, the test results came back that Garcia had popped. Now, whatever. I mean, we seen how crazy Garcia was in the lead up to the, you know, his fight that he won, and he seemed off, really off, acting weird. You know, for a minute I thought it was just like mind games and part of his, you know, trying to just stir shit up. But I guess, you know, maybe it was roid rage or just roid crazies.
It could be all of the above, probably. But they did get a quote from Ryan Garcia recently, or it might have might have happened shortly after he popped, but it's a follow up to that. So they TMZ, he was talking to TMZ, and he said he likes Sugar Sean O'Malley because he defended him after the cheating allegations. But if Sugar Sean really wants to run in the UFC, he'll run it. Or he wants to do bare knuckle. He said, or bare knuckle. Shit, I'm just ready to fight anyone at this point. And then the follow-up is bare knuckle fighting championship president Dave Feldman told TMZ that he would be down to put Garcia on one of their international events. So that being said, any interest of seeing Ryan in the UFC or bare knuckle? Let's let you kick it off, Admire.
You know, normally I'd be the one to say no, but this one I would. You know, it isn't like a washed boxer coming to bare knuckle or a complete mismatch. This is going to give us an idea of how a boxer or true good boxer would fare in bare knuckle. But I think you have to put him in there against somebody that's highly ranked in bare knuckle. Don't put him in there just to win. Don't put him against a can. You know, I think Mike Perry's probably too heavy for him.
Yeah. What about Eddie Alvarez?
Yeah, I was thinking like Eddie Alvarez, somebody like that. You know, you know, like MMA, the whole point of it was to see what was the best martial art and, you know, best style. And then, you know, it's transformed into other things. Boxing's always been around. Now we have a lot of bare knuckle. I think bare knuckle would be just a completely different game for a boxer. You know, they're wearing big gloves, but they still hurt. But when you're taking bricks to the face from somebody like, you know, Eddie Alvarez, it could be different. And how does a boxer's hands that are always wrapped and in a glove hold up to hitting somebody, you know, pretty much barehanded? So I'm definitely for it. I'm interested in it, but I think you have to go against a top tier guy like Alvarez.
Steve?
Definitely the bare knuckle side of things. Wouldn't be interested in anything him participating in MMA. Like
Why
Admar
not?
said, it'd just be too much of a too easy for whoever's experienced in MMA. Maybe somebody who else wasn't experienced in MMA and two boxers, but
Too much of a mismatch.
yeah, bare knuckle, it leaves even the professional boxer, chance to be open because, like Admar said, it's a totally different game. You're hitting. So I mean, some people have hard fists, man, and they ain't got no pads. More susceptible to get through the guard. I don't think it would be a walk in the park for Garcia. I think we saw this Paulo Malignaggi, and I think he broke his hand. So that we're talking all these factors. So I think it'll be Ryan Garcia, and bare knuckle boxing would be a more watch than MMA.
So Y'all wouldn't be interested in him versus Sugar Sean if they had like a off the record agreement, gentleman's agreement that we're just gonna stand and bang.
If they did an MMA match where they agreed to stand and bang, I mean, of course I'm going to watch it for sure. But I think O'Malley beats him easily.
Or you think he just kicks him in the head?
No, I think Sean O'Malley is one of the most accurate strikers there is. And, boxers, they just kind of, a lot of times stand in front of each other, work the jab, hooks, things like that. O'Malley's going to dance around and, in boxing, you don't see somebody jumping to the outside to fucking throw a Superman punch and shit like that. So even if it is stand up MMA, throwing the hands is different than boxing. I don't know. Maybe, Garcia's young enough. Maybe he can pick up a lot of that. That's why we haven't seen a real great transition from boxing to MMA, because they're so ingrained in the boxing and they don't have the ground game. And, it's just a whole different fighting space.
We've seen it work a couple times with Holly Holm. She's like a Hall of Famer in boxing. And
there's some very rare instances, but then there's the James Tonys of the world.
He's a terrible example, though, because he was old when he came over and just not in shape. But a lot of times that may happen, especially if you don't even try to work on your ground game. Right now, we saw Clarissa Shields. She had a little bit of growing pains switching over, but she's won a few MMA fights. She lost one, so it can be done. But there's a lot of more ground to cover and learning the martial arts. So I think that'd be stupid if they did have like a gentleman's agreement. If it's Sean O'Malley, because if Ryan Garcia caught you and lit you up, it'd be real easy just to get him on the ground, even though we don't think of Sean O'Malley as a grappler. He could still grapple against Ryan Garcia easily.
Right. But I think the biggest hurdle out of any of it is, can anybody pay Garcia enough to do it? He made $12 million against Devin Haney. Like, nobody's going to pay him $12 million to get into bare knuckle or into an MMA cage.
I don't know, man. They got that money, that Saudi Arabia money. I don't know if they can, but I don't know if they would pay him like a Conor type salary for a one-time fight. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
That is a good question. Like you say, if they do one of those Middle Eastern cards, I think definitely money wouldn't be an issue. I think it's a matter of this. Dana's going to get a piece of the pie, which he will. And if they can make that deal so he can mingle outside of, that's why Conor was an anomaly, man. It's kind of hard seeing anybody else do it. And not saying it can't be done again, but it's like, and I'm just off my head. It doesn't seem O'Malley even close to the stardom of Conor to introduce himself while still an MMA UFC fighter to go outside and box or do whatever.
They would have to do it in another country, right? With Garcia being suspended here, like, he could still go fight in other countries, right? Just
no,
not
I think
under.
he's banned.
Because I don't think the suspension holds up if it's not like one of those official boxing promotions.
Yeah. I think he's just banned with like the major boxing commissions, like the functioning bodies, like the WBA, the WBO, IBF, WBC. So I don't think.
Yeah, so he probably can't get licensed to fight anywhere in the United States, because once your license is suspended, and with more MMA stuff, I think a fighting license kind of covers MMA bare knuckle boxing, all that. So it would have to be something overseas. But then, you're kind of reversing the sands of time. Pride, people talk about how there wasn't really drug testing and it was a free for all and all that. If everybody starts going overseas to fight where they're not going to be tested, or you can be suspended and go over there and fight, I don't know. It opens up a weird,
Yeah, I think he's banned just from boxing in general. I don't think it's no like clause or caveat where he could go overseas. It just says he's suspended from boxing. So, like you said, because if you were just to easily just hurdle it, everybody would do that. So I guess y'all are leaning that he just sits out a year and he probably doesn't do either.
Nah, he'll sit out. He'll still do his social media stuff and keep his name out there and stuff, but he won't do anything.
You think the same thing, Steve?
I do think the same thing. I think he's just going to do his pop up here. I think I even saw a little clip. He was, playing his little poker and giving little sneak disses to Devin Haney, and just putting his name out there. I think that's enough to make people want to fight him by the time that suspension is over. So I don't think he's losing anything, and he's having it looks like the time of his life. So
yeah, I'm leaning towards what y'all just said. I don't think he fights in either. He's just talking. We all know that he's been kind of all over the place as far as his headspace. So I think he's just talking just to get a sound bite or something headline put up on TMZ and whatnot. He ain't doing anything that's gonna risk him getting embarrassed. So I think he sits out a year, and we'll see what kind of fight he gets after that. But fellas, let's finally hop into the card that's going down this weekend.
Well, that should have been on our news. Between the last episode and this one, that's when McGregor dropped out. That's the biggest news of all.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. UFC 303, and like Admire just said, it's a lot that happened to where we got to this main event, which we'll get into when we talk about the main event. But let's talk about these early prelims. In the bantamweight division, we had Ricky Simone versus Vinicius Oliveira. In the flyweight, we had Ray Tsarukyan versus Carlos Hernandez. Heavyweight, this is a blast from the past. We got Andrei Arlovski versus Martin Budai. And then the last one in the women's strawweight to finish off the early prelims, we had Michelle Watterson Gomez, the Karate Hottie, versus Jillian Robertson. Then on the prelims that are at ESPN in the bantamweight divisions, we had Peyton Talbot versus Giannis Gamori. And we had Charles Jourdain in the featherweight division versus John Silva. Featherweight, another bash from the past. We got Corp Swanson versus Andre Touchy-Feely. And then the featured prelim on this one, we have Joe Piper versus Marc-Andre Barriault in the middleweight division. Any of these fights piques y'all interest?
For me, I'm definitely, I don't know if I'll watch the early prelims live, but I'll definitely go back to check on the Arlovski fight. He's always been, one of my favorite fighters. We kind of know his history with wins and losses back and forth. He kind of had a resurgence back in, multiple times actually. He's climbed up, he's climbed down. He should have retired a long time ago, but I like watching him. The Cub Swanson fight, he's always fun to watch, especially against Andre Feely. Marc-Andre Barriault, definitely one to watch. So there's some good stuff. I don't know if I'll get the prelims live, but I'll go back and watch them for sure.
Steve?
Well, what makes me enjoy a prelims is at least knowing somebody fighting somebody, which is mostly people on this card. And can have a cross analysis if somebody they're fighting I don't know. So I'm glad most everybody, you know, is fighting somebody that I know, and I probably will watch these fights if I get done with everything. And usually I don't watch a prelim if I don't recognize anybody and catch up later on, or if I'm settled in, sit down and just watch the rest of the card. But definitely will be watching.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in the Piper Andre Barrio fight. Cub Swanson, Andre Touchy Feely, both of them wily veterans at this point, and just a fun little fight. I don't think there's gonna be any implications as far as the featherweight division, but like Steve said, it's good when you know the people on the prelims. And former UFC champion Arlovsky, and I'm always interested to see what he does because he just keeps rolling. He's almost like what 50 years old. He's old as fuck, and he's still out there fighting.
45 years
Okay.
old.
So not quite 50, but he's old, and he still wants to go out there and get that crooked nose caved in even more.
See that
And
what's his name done messed up and inspired all these old people. I'm not going to disrespect old people. All these old fighters.
Who?
Glover, Teixeira.
Over Teixeira?
Yeah, he made
Yeah.
DC cry on the commentating that day.
Yeah, not everybody can be a champion over the age of 40. So I wouldn't advise old fighters to keep going out there and taking more brain damage. But hey, once a fighter, always a fighter, I guess.
He went on a good little run. I was looking over his record. I mean, you know, of course, he was the champion back in the day, like the early days of the UFC. But when he came back to the UFC in 2013 or 2014, he beat Brendan Schaub, Antonio Silva, Travis Brown, Frank Mir, and then he had a title eliminator against Stipe, and Stipe won. So he had a nice little run, and then back in 2021, started a 4-fight win streak for him, but now he's on a 3-fight loss.
So I don't think he gets cut, but you know what, Dana, I think it's about time for him to retire if he looks bad in it. So Dana suggests that he retires, but you know, hopefully he can keep the train going. And I'm also intrigued with the Karate Hottie fight. It's just I'm kind of disappointed that there isn't a weight class lower because I think she would have been a champion if they would have brought that atom weight division over from Invicta, but you know they didn't. So she's just a little bit undersized for the strawweight, so she's never able to get over the hump. And Jillian Robinson, she's no slouch, so that should be pretty competitive too. So definitely got some pretty intriguing fights in the prelims and the early prelims. But let's move on to the main card, fellas. This is a good one to kick it off. In the welterweight division, we got Ian Machado Gary versus UFC newcomer. This will be a second fight. Michael Venom Page, MVP. Admire, I'll let you kick it off. But before I let you do that, though, just to, you know, give a recap on what the records are after UFC 302. Admire is 22-16. Steve is 21-17. Steve is catching up to Admire real fast. And I am 25-13. So let's see if Admire can catch up, and let's see if Steve can surpass Admire. Admire, what do you think about this MVP fight versus Ian Machado Gary?
I like this fight a lot. Not just because it's going to be a banger. Both of them are great fighters, but you know, Ian Gary has a lot of hype behind him. Undefeated, MVP. You know, we kind of know his history. This is really going to show if the hype is true behind both of them. Unfortunately, somebody's got to lose. For me, I've always bet against MVP, so I gotta pick MVP this time. Like I thought he was going to lose his last one. He did great, so I'm rolling MVP, and the Machado O has got to go.
So Admire has MVP. What say you, Steve?
I'll have MVP too. Not only I don't know if y'all know in any other sports. I'm asking if there's a United Kingdom and Ireland element, which might hype the fight even more. Um, Definitely Venom Page. Loved his performance, and also love his um, dancing performances too in the ring. So I'm looking forward to that. See him if he's gonna style on him, and I see they're trying to boost him up there real quick in the rankings. 14 and he's 7. So if he wins that, I think it'll be one more fight after that, and they'll probably put him in contendership because I think he may be trending after his last fight. So definitely Michael Venom Page.
What are the odds on this one, am I?
Ooh, odds. Let's talk some odds. Let me see.
Well, Emma's looking at this could be either a really fun fight or a really boring tactical fight because both of them like to strike. Both of them might be trying to download the information and see who each other, next mover is going to be. I don't know, man. I kind of want to pick Ian because both of y'all picked MVP because I think MVP may have that weird, awkward style that may frustrate Ian, but Ian's a young, hungry lion. And what are the odds?
So the odds on this one, we got Ian Gary as the favorite at -132, MVP at a +108 underdog. It's basically a pick 'em.
So I'm gonna go against the grain. I'm gonna go with Ian Gary, but I don't have a lot of faith in that pick because I can see MVP winning as well. But I'm gonna go with Ian Gary to outpoint him and get the unanimous decision. I don't think it's gonna be split. I think it's gonna be unanimous. I think it's gonna be 2 rounds to 1. So Admire and Steve will have MVP, and I have Gary. That takes us to the next fight on this card. In the women's bantamweight division, we got Myra Bueno Silva versus Macy Chazon. Admire, who you like in this one?
For me, I'm going to have to go with Bueno Silva on this one. It was kind of a toss-up. I mean, I'm just picking one because I have to. I mean, I think they're both of them. Their most recent loss, I believe, was to Pennington. I remember Bueno Silva had a fight. I think it was against Pennington not too long ago at the beginning of the year, and I think she did really good. It was a unanimous decision, though. So, yeah, Bueno Silva for me. As far as odds, it's almost a pick 'em. Bueno Silva -133. Macy is a +109. So basically the same odds as the Gary Page fight.
Another pick 'em. Steve?
I'll go with Myra Bueno Silva just because I know her. Plus, she's ranked doesn't always say it. And I do need to look at Macy Chiasson. But although she had a bad fight with Pennington, she's shown pretty strong performances before. And so I think, any person that's lost and trying to keep their high ranking is going to prove a point in this fight. And I think she'll keep that number by her name. So Myra, I'll go for as my pick.
This is a pick 'em. Basically, I said. So, man, I wonder if they made these closely contending as far as like the odds on purpose. I'm gonna go because Macy, like Admire said, both of them lost to Pennington, but Macy just came off that submission win on her last outing against Kinzad. But I'm gonna go with Buena Silva to bounce back because she's coming off that title fight, Rocky Pennington. I didn't think the fight was all that exciting, so I think she's gonna bounce back and show a better I won't say better effort because everybody gives effort in there, but I think she's going to try to put her foot on the gas a little bit more and do it and I don't want to say get the finish, but get a little bit more style points in the win with this one. So I got Buena Silva as well. That takes us to the next fight. And this fight does not look like anything like the original fight that was scheduled in this slot. So originally, this is supposed to be Khalil Roundtree versus Jamal Hill in this fight, which would have been definitely good implications on the light heavyweight division. But Khalil Roundtree dropped out because he self-reported himself from popping hot before they could get to him. So I guess that was good. If you know you take a tainted supplement, I guess that's good to report yourself. And he was replaced by Carlos Oberg, and it's supposed to be Carlos Oberg versus Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill got injured again. I think he tore his PCL and some other stuff in his knee. So that's not a good sign, especially him coming off that Achilles. So and then Anthony Smith jumped in to replace Jamal Hill. It's supposed to be it's supposed to be Anthony Smith versus Carlos Oberg, and Oberg dropped out. I still don't know why he dropped out. I have to go back and look at that. And in comes Roman Dolidze. So, like I said, it's nothing like the original fight. It's Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze at light heavyweight. I'll start off with you, Am I? What do you think of this fight?
Yeah. Like it's crazy how this fight got here, but it did. I'm actually going to take Roman on this one. He is moving up from middleweight, making his return to light heavyweight. I just think Roman has better grappling. I think Anthony Smith is kind of slowed down with his striking. He's shown some weakness on trying to get back up, when he gets put down. And Roman is a great grappler. So that's where I'm going with it. Odds on this one. Roman is a minus 152 favorite. Anthony Smith plus 124 underdog. Very close.
That's another pick 'em, basically. Steve?
I'll go with Anthony Smith. It's hard because he's not consistent, but his last fight, it seems mentally he's left the hard-headedness of standing up and just taking opportunity when it's there, which he got his I think submission his last fight. So I don't think people people didn't expect that. So I think he has another mindset to, I think I think he can't afford another loss is what he thinks. And I think when he sees opportunity against Dolidze, he's going to grab a neck or go for submission, which usually it's almost like an agreement with these strikers that they, as long as they see that they're standing up the first round, and it's almost like it's kept that way. And it seemed like he abandoned that last fight. So I think Anthony Smith is giving me a little bit light for him this fight to win.
Yeah. Dolidze is on a 2-fight skid. So I always say, like, when a fighter is on like a 2-fight skid, that they're going to be desperate to get that win and not be on the chopping block, so to speak. But I'm going to go with Anthony Smith as well. I'm not super confident in this pick. Like I said, I think Dolidze will come out on fire. But Anthony Smith is still a shifty, pretty smart fighter. So I think he finds a way to out grapple him, because I think Anthony Smith's grappling is a little bit underrated. He's a really shifty guy on the ground, and he's not a slouch with the hands either. So, and he's still in fighting shape from his last fight. So I'm gonna go with Anthony Smith to take this one. So me and Steve both got Smith, and Amai has Dolidze. So that should be an interesting one. But let's go to this next fight. This might be another pick'em as well in the featherweight division. In the co-main event, we have Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. Admire. I'll let you kick this one off.
This is one of them wide range fights. We got Brian Ortega at number 3, Diego Lopes at 14. So there's a big jump up in rankings there for this fight. For me, it's a no-brainer for me. Brian Ortega. I mean, Brian Ortega has only lost to the best of the best. I mean, he's lost to Max Holloway. He's lost to Volkanovski. And I think he lost to Rodriguez, and then he came back and won in the rematch. So he's only lost to the top tier guys. I'm not saying anything bad about Diego, but I think that Brian Ortega is the bigger, stronger fighter and can handle the fight, whether it's on the ground, standing up, no matter where it's at. So give me Ortega. Odds on this one, basically another pick 'em. Brian Ortega plus 118 as the underdog, and Diego is a minus 145.
Okay. So the odds are odds for a reason. So you may be underestimating Lopez. I don't think the Ortega is a bad pick, but I don't think Lopez should be slept on. But Steve, what do you think?
I'll go with Ortega because of his experience. I thought he surprised me when he won against Ortega, which is a big statement. Which I think I've seen as Lopez's last fight. He's pretty crafty with his hands itself. But he seizes to surprise me. I think he really surprised me when I can't remember who he fought, but he went bald that fight and he surprised everybody with his striking and it's been doing pretty good since then. Plus, we all know that he's good on the ground. I think he's more well versed. I'll go for Ortega, definitely.
So, like y'all was saying, Ortega has the experience. He only loses the high level guys, and he had that impressive win against Yair Rodriguez with that arm triangle. I could go the easy route and just pick the guy with the more experience, but I don't know if someone really wants to pick Diego Lopez for some reason. I think he's a young, hungry lion. Ortega is not bad. Like you said, he's crafty with his hands. Like, he's not bad on the feet, but we all know him as T-City. Like, the ground game is his bread and butter. So when in doubt, I think that's the route he might go. But if you look at Lopez's record too, he's got a win by armbar. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So even though we know him for being a guy that likes to stand up and use his striking, so what the heck? I'll go with Diego Lopez. It's not really an upset as far as the odds go, because he's what'd you say, Admire, plus 117 or something like that?
Ortega plus 118.
Ortega's plus 118. So Diego is not the underdog as far as the odd goes, but as far as the ranking goes, he's the underdog. So I don't know. It's a weird fight in that aspect, but I'll go with Lopez on this one. So y'all both have Ortega, and I have Diego Lopez, which takes us to the main event. And before we talk about that, we definitely have to talk about what led to this main event. One notorious Conor McGregor. So there was a lot of speculation going up to this fight, and we talked about it on the show, whether or not Conor McGregor would or would not fight at this card. A lot of people saying that he would, and a lot of people saying that he wouldn't. It's split. On this show, I think Steve and Admire said he wouldn't fight. I'm like, nah, he'll make it there because he rarely pulls out of fights. Lo and behold, I think, was it a week and a half out? Pulls out of a fight for unknown reasons at first. And then we come to find out he has an injury, actually his pinky toe. And now that we don't see Conor McGregor fight Michael Chandler at this event. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know where to start with this one because at this point, I don't know if we ever see Conor back in the cage, but maybe he just wants to be at 100%. Because, like I said, he never really pulls out of fights, but he did with this one. So I don't know. Once he found out he was officially off of the card, what do you think, Arman?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to go into details and spread rumors, but I messaged you what I had been told in early.
I'm not repeating that.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna repeat that. But somebody told me in early May that McGregor was not going to be fighting on this, and the reason we're not saying is because the reason has not been confirmed. Speculation, but I was told early in May that he was dropping out. You know, I don't know, toe injury, whatever. I don't know. I would think that your toe has to be really messed up to drop out of a fight like that. But without that, in the lead up, it didn't, to me, it felt like this fight wasn't going to happen because you weren't seeing McGregor put a lot of promotion into it. In past fights, McGregor has been the A side, doing all the promotions and just everything, and we didn't see that. We seen a lot of weird stuff out of him with the promotion of the movie, and it didn't seem like his head was in this fight from the beginning to me. That's just what I saw, and that's what I was basing on. You know, I don't think this fight's going to happen. So, you know, I feel bad for Chandler. Chandler's basically put a couple years of his life on hold to get red panty night. So I hope the fight does happen. Somebody, I've heard that they're trying to get him for the spear or something by the end of the year. I don't know if he'll be healed by then, whatever. I hope the fight still happens, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it. And I don't think anybody should really hold their breath for a McGregor fight anymore.
Yeah, who knows? He's got enough money where we probably won't see him again. I don't know. What are your thoughts on him dropping out of the fight, Steve?
Yeah. First of all, y'all said, I didn't know why he dropped out, but y'all said toe, and the first thing I thought is what he said in his previous fight. His foot was a balloon. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy how you say things and it comes back to haunt you. You know, because I specifically, it just came back to my memory when he said that. But maybe he's knows that has a few more fights and wants to be A1 every one he's in. And like I said, unfortunately for Chandler, but maybe Chandler is on his way out and has his plans and is willing to wait and put all his amps all into the this fight. It's disappointing, but I also saw it. Broken toe, and I felt like Conor with that injury. I mean, I don't think he himself feels confident. I hope they get this fight soon or put it on the next following cards. But yeah, it's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, like I said earlier, who knows when we'll see him, but I feel like the spear would be a perfect opportunity for him to come back, especially, he likes to do things big. So he would definitely boost his ego if he were to get on the first spear card. But people have been like giving him shit for dropping out of a pinky toe. I don't blame him for wanting to be 100% because like a 26-year-old McGregor, you probably would see him power through it, but he's about to be 36. He's like 2 days older than me, actually. So I don't blame him for wanting to be 100% because if something does happen and he doesn't have full function on your toe is your control center for your foot, and something happens and he loses, this is a big fight. He can't afford not to go in there 100%, and if he loses, his stock goes down even more. So get fully healthy if that's the real reason why. If it's some other bullshit, then I don't know. I guess we probably won't see him in the octagon again. But I'm gonna take his word for it. I think they said he posted something, an X-ray or something, maybe on his foot on Instagram or Twitter or something like that. But I don't know if we see this fight, but if we do, I'm guessing it'll probably be in the fall sometime. So I guess we have to see how it plays out. And like Arman says, it sucks that Michael Chandler has been waiting this long just to get a quote unquote payday. Like I know like you get pay-per-view points, but I don't know how much the B-sides of Conor fights really getting paid. But I guess we'd have to, because they don't disclose it. So I guess we just have to get the story maybe behind the scenes years down the line once these guys retire. But I don't know. I mean, even though I thought he would power through it, and I thought he might make it to the fight. I'm not that disappointed that he's not fighting because I don't know what McGregor that we'll see in there anyway. So interesting leading up to this new main event, but let's move on into what the new main event is. This is a rematch from back in, I think they fought in November of last year, if I'm not mistaken. We got your light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira, in a rematch versus Yuri Prochazka for that light heavyweight crown. And what are your thoughts on this one, Arman, as far as the actual fighting that this rematch happening so quickly?
I think it's a quick turnaround. I mean, Jerry did get a win in between that loss and now. Alex did get a win. I mean, it's kind of no other choice. They're both at the top of the pile. It's just, a lot of times I do talk about running back fights fairly quick, but this is not necessarily one of those fights that I want to see, and it's hard when we had McGregor Chandler lined up and then this is what we get. I've seen multiple posts on like X and stuff like that, people saying, I paid $27,000 for seats to see McGregor and Chandler fight, and now I got to watch a rerun of Jerry and Alex. So it's I think it's tough for everyone, but it's it's kind of like at least we get something.
They did refund tickets if you bought it from McGregor. So if your dumbass did pay that much for that ticket, and you'll get that back. But I'm sure if you bought it for that much, you didn't pay face value. You probably paid secondhand market. So I think you might be shut out of luck if you did that.
Yeah.
But you don't get your money back for booking flights and booking maybe hotel. You get your money back for, but you don't get it for booking flights and making other travel arrangements. So you'd be screwed in that aspect. So I get it, but now that, so even though you weren't a fan of this rematch happening so quickly, how do you think it plays out, Arman?
I'm gonna say it goes similar to the first fight. Jerry's a great striker, very wild with his style, but he drops his hands a lot. He throws them wild strikes and he drops his hands. He pops in and out. And I mean, you can't do that against a striker like Alex. That's the very top, of the game. So I think we're going to see just pretty much a replay of it. I think Alex is going to catch him. I'll call it by knockout, and it'll be in the first round. Your odds for this one, I mean, it's close to a pick 'em. Alex minus 169 favorite, Jerry plus 137 underdog.
Oh, so Yuri's a plus 187, you said?
137.
That is another pick 'em. Steve, what are your thoughts on this one?
I don't think it'll go exactly the same. Considering it ended in a sort of grappling exchange. I think Yuri is going to definitely look out for those legs kicks, which were a big factor to why he even started grappling against the fence with him before that KO or TKO. I think he was handling himself pretty well as far as staying distance and faking shoots and then coming up with uppercuts. Like, he was doing pretty well. The only thing that was jacking him up was the leg kicks. And I think if he gets past that, we might be able to see a more competitive, so to speak, on the feet fight. And it's kind of hard because Pereira's been on fire, but I'm going to have to, which I think I picked last time, Jerry again. I think he can adjust enough to get the win.
Okay. I like it. Going with the underdog on this one. So I guess I'm the one that splits it. I wasn't a fan of them making this rematch so quickly. Like I'm like, oh, we just saw this, but I guess now that it's getting closer, you know, light heavyweight. It used to be the glamour division. You know, John Jones kind of just beat everybody, and it kind of had a little bit of a downslide after that. But it's still light heavyweight. The next biggest weight divisions next to the heavyweight, so it's always action. So now, like I said, now that it's getting closer to the fight, you know, I guess I'm gonna enjoy it now that we have no choice but to watch it. Well, I mean, you can skip it, but this is the main event that we have. So what can you do? And they're both exciting fighters. Yuri definitely took more damage at UFC 300 than Alex Pereira. So I'm sure that probably played a factor why Pereira was such a willing champion and defend his belt, because Yuri was down on the cards and then he came back to get that knockout at UFC 300. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I think I'm with Steve. I think it's gonna go a little bit differently this time, but I think Pereira still finds a way to get the stoppage. But I don't think it's gonna be a drag out war. I think it's gonna go to the third round and it's gonna be like a TKO. The ref's just gonna have to go in there and stop it just from Prohaska just taking too many hits. I think Prohaska probably needed a little bit more time to recover, but I see, like, if they were like to fight 10 times, I think Prohaska probably would take like 3 or 4 of them. I just didn't think it was wise him having such a quick turnaround, and I think Pereira still get the win in this one. But I think it's definitely gonna be an interesting fight. Pereira was talking about going up to heavy at one point, so I guess it's a little stopgap in the road. But if Pereira does get the win, does he like go? You think he just stays at light heavyweight, or you think he tries to test those heavyweight waters, Admire?
I think he's on his way to being the UFC Golden Boy. I think they're going to let him do kind of whatever he wants. I think they'll let him go up and either, he might wait it out and see kind of where the chips fall with the John Jones and all that, and maybe just give him an instant title shot. I don't see him moving up and fighting a contender at heavyweight and then waiting in line. Moving up and losing, it doesn't hurt as bad, but it does hurt a little bit. I think if he moves up, it needs to be for the belt and go for that, 3-division champ. But he hasn't had a lot of fights at light heavyweight, right? So there's other people to fight there. So I think the UFC is going to kind of let him do whatever he wants.
Steve, you think he tries to test the waters up there heavyweight?
Definitely, especially if he wins this. I think they're going to give him a shot. And like you said, pan out what he sees in heavyweight. Me personally, I think, he might still be able to crack at heavyweight, but I think those heavyweight, they can absorb that left. And not only that, you're talking about people that can take down too at that weight. I don't think he can like a Curtis Blades, or he better wait for somebody specifically to fight, or else I don't think he has strong enough takedown defense for a heavyweight at all. But yeah, I think he'll have to pick and choose very wisely who he fights.
Yeah, well, we probably don't want to jump too far ahead because he still has a big test this weekend, but I'd definitely be interested to see what his next move will be, because like Admire said, it may be trying to make him the next Golden Boy, and he's one of the fighters that does his talking in the cage. So yeah, we'll see what's to come for Alex Pereira in the future. But that'll bring us to the end of the show. A lot of exciting fights this weekend, and we'll all be watching, and we'll be back next week to recap what happens over this past weekend. the good, bad, and the ugly. But make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, and make sure to like us on YouTube and follow that. And that'll do it here for us at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. Heel hooking on one plot, I leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest, sitting on the top.